All right. Welcome to another totally rewarding chats. I am Paul Reiman here with Sean Luitjens as always. Say hi, Sean.
Hi, I'm the wingman. This is fun. I like this.
We're,
Finally, Paul's doing some work. Super stoked that he's going to do some work today.
I call it process improvement. We're
Okay.
taking a step forward. And we are super thrilled to be joined by Charlie Franklin. Say hello, Charlie.
Hey, everyone. Good to see you, Sean and Paul. You guys are climbing around. I love it already.
We don't know how to take too much seriously. So I think the world knows Charlie, but just in case we have listeners who don't know Charlie, we're going to have you do sort of your own introduction. So tell us about Charlie Franklin.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Charlie Franklin. I'm co-founder and CEO at Compa. I spent the first 10 years of my career in compensation and left Workday in 2020 to go found Compa. And we build real-time data analysis and decision support technology for enterprise compensation teams.
You did it without saying AI. Like, just let's break the joke right now for everybody. Like, you introduced Compa without saying AI.
I did that on purpose.
The question I have, though, is how did you get into comp? Because that has come up a bunch. How did you get into compensation?
Like everyone else, I fell into it. I was looking, in the fall of 2009, my senior year of college, my counselor said, you should probably find a job because you have student loans. And I said, I don't know what I want to do. He said, why don't you look at consulting? And so I looked around at consulting, but the economy was in a recession and it was slim pickings. And I had a friend who ended up becoming my Compa co-founder who said, there's this thing called HR consulting. You should tell them you like compensation. Trust me. They're desperate for people for sort of a counter-cyclical reason. It's really fascinating. So I said, okay, and ended up starting my career at Mercer and learning what compensation is. My education was in economics, and I've come to love compensation because of its economic bent. It's a study of how people respond to incentives, how those incentives can drive decisions and outcomes for the company. And for me, as a young person building my career, I found myself in my 20s sitting in the boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies with a piece of paper in front of me and my mouth was moving. I was like, what is this wormhole I have transported through where I get to understand how companies work? And so I've really come to fall in love with the domain and built my career around it since then.
Which office did you start at in Mercer?
I was at 155 North Wacker in Chicago.
Okay.
Where I'd hang out on the 15th floor. That's right.
I feel like I may have told you this story, Charlie, but like the universe was this far away from us being colleagues at that stage because I was being recruited by Mercer to join them in that office at that point in time that you would have started there. I think maybe even involving similar people.
I'm sure.
Because Bob Melandrucolo was one of the people I interviewed with, and I know that's a connection. So like what a wild world that would have been.
That's crazy. So 2009 was my last year with Mercer working for the comp and ben benchmark team. So it was up in Chicago a lot, actually. But that is so, yeah. This close, right?
This close.
I won't say how far into my career I was, Charlie, when you were coming out of school and interviewing at Mercer.
We won't go there.
That won't go well for me.
That's right.
We
won't go there.
That's right.
All right. Well, we'll come back to sort of more of that story. But first, a little bit of a speed round. So just 5 quick questions, quick answers from you, although we can't help but heckle you if they're not the right answer. First, coffee or tea?
Coffee with cream.
Are you a coffee snob, or like anything with caffeine and it's good enough for me?
I'm on the coffee snob end of the spectrum. I have a beautiful grinder, beautiful coffee maker at home. I have a coffee subscription from my favorite coffee shop in Seattle that I miss from when I lived there.
Okay, that's down the spectrum a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
you're like on the spectrum. Like you're like trying to subtly say you're not, but you are.
There's some evidence snobbery. I don't want to put a label on it, but I enjoy a good cup of joe.
It's all right. Own it, Charlie. I'm with you. I'm going to jump to the one that we always ask: a weekend away, or you have a chance for a weekend away. Are you camping in the woods, or are you resorting it? Or, somewhere posh?
Oh, okay. I'm going to cheat and give 2 answers. Pre-kids, it would be camping, ideally in the backcountry in some place like Montana or in the Sierra Nevadas. Post-kids, it's still a weekend away from the kids, but hiding with my wife in Sonoma at a bed and breakfast, drinking wine and taking in some sunshine without as much noise.
That counts.
That is quite, I'm not going to lie. That's like That's like totally switching teams on that one. But that's fine.
And it
Tells
all
you something
happens
about
in
his kids.
California. What can I say?
Tells you what
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
do to you, though. Yeah. Just leave it at that.
That's right.
My kids are 5, 2.5, and 5 months. So we're in the gauntlet right now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's all wonderful.
So the weekend needs the wine. Like it's just necessary at that point. So
It certainly does. It certainly helps.
Favorite sport or no sport at all is a valid answer as well.
Ooh, I grew up playing baseball until I auditioned into the High School Musical and became a theater kid. But now I really do enjoy playing golf when I get a chance. It's just not a very easy way to spend time on weekends with the family. But if I can get out and enjoy fresh air and golf, that's my top choice these days.
So you led into my, I thought I had scooped the perfect question off of your LinkedIn profile. My fourth question was going to be your favorite a cappella group.
Well, I'll tell a brief side story. So I was in a cappella in college. Thank you for that question. Somehow that's lingering on my LinkedIn profile.
It's still on your LinkedIn profile. You own it.
My team does like to persuade me after a couple drinks to find our way into a karaoke bar so they can hear it for themselves. But the fun fact, my college a cappella group, one of the guys at my college wrote a book that became the basis for the movie Pitch Perfect that everybody knows and loves now.
That's great.
There are no characters directly based on me. It's a fiction for sure, but evokes a lot of good memories from that time. So gosh, favorite a cappella group today, I have no idea.
That's all right.
I guess
it was more to make you tell
around.
the story. I needed to make you tell the story. That's not a common LinkedIn profile extracurricular activity. Let's put it that way.
No. It was a lot of fun. I was music director my senior year, and we got to hang out with a handful of celebrities and sing at the MLB All-Star game and do fun things like that. It was a great experience.
Look at that. I love it. And then last speed round question, chunky or creamy peanut butter?
Creamy with no sugar added.
Oh, a very specific form of creamy.
Specific. Okay.
That sounds like that is a jar in the pantry right now.
So would you consider yourself a peanut butter snob?
Definitely not a peanut butter snob.
I didn't know if you had your own grinder. Like we were going to go down and right next to the coffee grinder was the peanut grinder. Okay. Just didn't
Definitely
know.
Not. Having grown up in the Chicago suburbs, I had canned green beans and canned frozen orange juice. And now having lived out west for a decade plus, I have come to appreciate some of the values out here, like organic peanut butter. So there it is, becoming Californian.
I love it. So let's zoom ourselves to the summer of 2020, which is a point in time that most humans don't want to zoom back to, just to put it out there. What gives you the crazy idea to start a company at the height of a pandemic? So Compa formed, circa summer of 2020. So give us the founding story. Why then and why Compa?
That was a wild year and a bad year for many people. It was a very chaotic year for me personally. I had decided to leave my corporate career. I was at Workday at the time and wanted to go found a company. But I said, well, someday I actually want to take a break with my wife and gal around Europe for a couple of years. And so I got into London Business School and was all set to go pursue my MBA and live in London. And right after I put in my resignation at Workday around February of 2020, COVID hit. And it was one of those things where it looked like it might still be okay for a while. I paid my first semester tuition, never got that back. But in the meantime, the school made a scholarship application available to admits where you pitch a startup idea. And I was going to school with the intention of starting a company someday. So I started to work on the scholarship application. And the long and short of it is I realized as COVID got worse and as the clarity and reality of the idea I wanted to pursue got bigger and better, I decided to bail on business school. So my wife and I, we canceled our flight to London a week before we were supposed to move. In the meantime, we found out we were expecting our first baby. We had already sold all of our stuff. We had been living in Seattle at the time. My wife is from down here in Southern California. So we rented a beach cottage close by her family. I went to the school of Hard Knocks and started a company with my co-founders, Joe and Taylor, and just really haven't looked back since then. It ended up being the best decision of my life in a time of extreme volatility for the world.
Yikes.
I did win that scholarship, by the way, in the end. I have the email. I actually won it. Of course, never received the money.
But they have your money from applying. to the
They do.
school.
They do.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
important to
So
them
it's
that
a double
they
win
keep that
for
money.
them.
Yeah.
I give you all the props. Several people have asked over the years, like, do you want to either run or start something for both of you? But you in particular, Charlie, like, I'm just like, I'll take a hard pass on that. Like, so, I'll give all the credit and to do it in 2020, like where a lot of us were just like hunkering down. I think it's amazing to see what's happened and how you come out of it. But I mean,
Thank you.
part of it, I think, is just, it's such a good premise that the premise can kind of survive. I mean, it's kind of an interesting time to incubate it because if the idea wasn't good, it wouldn't have made it past there. So I think it is super cool
Well,
though.
thank you. Yeah, I had persuaded myself at the time that I would figure out whether it would succeed or fail in approximately the same time I would have gone to business school, and sort of underwrote my downside risk as time bound. And what I found is we've been successful. It's much harder than I could have ever imagined. One of my co-founders, Joe, is an amateur pilot on the side, and he has all these great aviation metaphors. He describes building a startup as if the corporate world is like flying in seat 28A of a 737 commercial flight. Running a startup is like being strapped into an open cockpit biplane with a failed engine hurtling towards the mountain, and you have to get it to start before it crashes. So you're both more dead and more alive at the same time. And that's definitely the most on the nose metaphor I've ever heard. It's exhilarating, it's terrifying, and ultimately I'm doing this to fulfill my potential and change the industry.
Yeah, I always joke I'm the reluctant entrepreneur. Like I'd never once in my life said, I think I'm going to start a business someday. Like it was I guess I should start a business now. Like it just the opposite, and people had dragged me into it. So I always have a little bit of envy for those that like had that vision. And what we share though is the time bound, like if this is going to fail, I'll know it by now, right? Like that metric of, like for me, it was the agreement with my wife. If the liquidity in our family gets down to X, I'm going to turn around and find a job. And, you got to have that accountability built in when it's an
I love
uncertain
that.
thing at an uncertain time, right?
It's actually something I love about being a venture capital backed company and capitalizing the company in that way, because it's all about speed. You actually get to success or failure faster. And it's a great accountability mechanism, especially in a industry and market which Compa is in, which is where the company either wants to get big or fail because of the network effect. And so you have to find, is there true market pull? Is this going to get big? If it does, likely gets very big because of that network effect.
Yeah. So speaking of being a venture-backed company, I've almost timed this perfectly that as we are speaking right now, I believe Compa is announcing its next series raise.
That's right.
Congratulations on that. We know that raising money is always a beast and a half. Like that's just not an easy thing in any market. But I guess tell us a little bit about sort of the raise and sort of the, where you think that validates where you're at and where you think it's taking you. What is next for Compa, given that you've now kind of brought more capital into play?
Yeah, thank you. Fundraising is a fascinating journey. It's a whole nother conversation. So we're coincidentally announcing our Series B essentially right as this records. It's a $35 million Series B led by Junk Capital, participation from many other incredible investors. We raised this round towards the end of last year, announcing it now, and it reflects, I think, a couple things really. Number one, the extraordinary product market fit that we found with real-time data and the appetite for companies in the compensation world starved for innovation to get fresher insights to steward their multi-billion dollar portfolios compensation. We've had tremendous success in the enterprise. We have the largest real-time market data network in the world by a wide margin. And the second piece that the fundraising really reflects is our entry into AI. Now you can all drink. We said it. In 2025. There you go.
All right, I've been waiting the whole time.
I'm sorry to keep you waiting, man. Next time you can just start with it. Compa we're a compensation intelligence company. And what that means is we want to power smarter decisions about every company's largest expense. If our market data is in real time, what AI represents for a compensation intelligence company is real-time analysis and decision-making support. And it's fascinating. It's been fascinating extending that vision to not just change the data that comp teams consume, but to change how they work, where analysis can move from kind of a manual ad hoc, high latency exercise that we all started our careers in, to an orchestrated, automated set of analyses that pushes market change to you and just positions, as the euphemism goes, for the comp professionals to focus on the art and let the AI automate the science. We launched those in 2025 with an amazing set of design partner customers. It's expanded significantly since then. And so the Series B underwriting represents our focus on continuing to expand the real-time market data network across the enterprise, but then also transforming how compensation teams work with AI. And we're leading that today, and the investment will enable us to go much, much deeper.
No, congratulations again, because raising money at any point is hard, and people don't just wake up in one morning and say, "I'll give Charlie $33 million." Like that's that's a decision from a lot of
You
people to
started,
go there.
I think, Charles, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you start, you said you did it in the fall, but you started that last year, World at Work-ish, like spring-ish. Is that correct?
No, actually, it was a very fast fundraise for us. We kind of went from starting the process in September to multiple term sheets in less than 4 weeks, and then close around before Thanksgiving. So it was,
Crazy.
yeah, it's strange. The bigger you get,
No
it actually
stress in
becomes
4
easier.
weeks to pick the right, yeah. No stress to pick in 4 weeks.
Yeah,
Wow.
right after my third kiddo was born. So I'm a glutton for punishment. What can I say?
Well, you've had to
You have
move.
a lot of
It's not, yeah, so first of all, you gotta figure, Charlie, what's causing the problem. That'll be the first thing, and then, yeah, once you get from there, now that you guys are in zone defense, so you can just man them in, 'cause now you have to play zone. Oh,
Free labor. That's
yeah.
right.
Now, in this timeline, I've also, many who have followed you have noticed a little bit of brand change too, right? Kind of new look, new messaging. So I guess I'd love to hear, I'm just always curious, what leads to that? What led to your revisioning of how you sort of show Compa to the world?
Yeah, we did. We updated our mark and some of our branding. For us, it really reflects going all in on AI. We started the company with the URL trycompa.com as kind of the thing that was available, because there's what's probably a wonderful little consulting firm out in New Mexico that has compa.com. But it also reflected our posture as an early stage startup, really trying new things and seeing if we can change the industry. We're compa.ai now, and our customers, and we count among them really the world's largest, biggest, best companies, take very seriously their responsibility to steward literally tens of billions of dollars in expense with better data and better insights. It's an imperative set by their boards, but also demanded equally by their employees who want fair and competitive pay. As the company's grown, we've seen our customer base and our responsibility grow, and ultimately updated our branding to reflect our focus on AI and on changing how these comp teams work.
So give us the stock answer then. So as a focus on AI, what does that mean for the data, right? So I was a big fan of Frontline when it came out in particular. I've talked at length
Thank you.
about how we need more location sensitive data for other industries too. So it was always on my I wish. So does this mean, so you give us the stock answer, but like, does this mean less emphasis on data? Does this mean new money goes towards AI? Maintain data, but what should the market expect around the data footprint, given that you're all in on AI?
They should expect a rapidly increasing data network. And over the past 12 months, our data network has grown over 8x. It's exploded, including in the frontline world, where we built that product in part because I really did not want Compa to just be a company for progressive coastal elite companies, but every part of the economy in America. And if you talk to any company with a large hourly worker population, it's a huge percentage of their investment in people, but also a huge amount of the comp team's time to understand how quickly markets are moving. In that case, affected by all kinds of different signals, regulatory change, seasonal changes. One of our customers told us that the hardest market to hire frontline talent right now is Bozeman, Montana. And you'd never guess it, right? But it comes down to the zip code, how fast things can change. What's fascinating about real-time data is it's like the transition from radio to television, where it takes some time for the profundity of the medium change to set in. When they first started rolling the cameras on the radio shows, you just have a host stand in front of a microphone reading the news with the camera pointed at them. They hadn't really understood what it meant yet. It was only over time that you realize if we are filming, we can do movies and every other form factor. Exactly.
Yeah.
I've always thought about how we practice comp is largely constrained by two things. One, the fidelity of the underlying data, getting to a level of precision that separates signal from noise. And then two, the administrative constraint of applying that data to the tens of thousands of decisions that companies make every year. As real-time data has expanded, companies are starting to rethink how data plays in to their comp strategy and the actual on-the-ground decisions that they make. And that's really how I think about AI, is the implication, the set of use cases that now become possible because your data is connected. And in software, you can change how you think about, an annual legacy process like benchmarking to continuous, or your relationship to the business. When an SVP complains that their people are underpaid, you don't have to get back to them in 5 or 6 weeks. You could do a market analysis in the 5 minutes walking into your meeting from your phone. It's just a complete rethink of how the work gets done. And so I view them as a cycle, and companies move up this maturity curve where they start by kind of dipping a toe and saying, do I want to try a source of data that's additional to the traditional surveys and see if I can get some value? But we see them progress up the maturity curve as the reality sets in, that I can start to change how I work in terms of who I hire, what analysts do, and how decision makers actually put those decisions out into the wild.
I think the frontline stuff, Charlie, to me is some of the coolest stuff you've done. And I say that because, in that space in particular, the where do I get talent and where do they go, right? Isn't as industry specific. It's the zip code in Bozeman or the 2 zip codes, 3 zip codes around. And so the talent pool is much more fluid. And so there was a really difficult way. It was really almost impossible for them to say, how do I get talent? I'm in retail, but it's not just retail, it's everywhere. And so I think
That's right.
the frontline thing allows them to start and look and say, well, actually, I can get talent from a numerous places, and how are those talent pools, and what is my real talent pool? That part I think is one of the coolest things that you guys are bringing to the table around there.
Thank you. And it's been very fascinating for me because I built my career in compensation focused on knowledge worker pay, where I would characterize the vector of precision that compensation teams seek is like job specificity. In the frontline world, it's much different. It's the vector of precision is location, where you could have the same retailer with a store 3 miles apart being completely different talent markets because of the other stores nearby. One of our customers, a very well-known coffee company, I asked them, who's your peer group? And they said, well, walk out of one of our stores and look across the parking lot.
Yeah.
Every single one of them is a talent competitor. It's a super massive, highly fungible talent market. The same person in a single year could be a concierge, could be a barista, could be a cashier.
Yep.
And it makes the boundaries of competition highly location-based. And go far beyond just sort of the hourly start rate that you see on a job posting. There's a lot of other detail that goes into that, whether you get a bridge toll pass or whether you get tuition reimbursement.
I mean,
Well, that's legit, right? Like benefits at that level, right? Like how do you start to grab those? Because, as you go up, I guess you want to call it knowledge worker, you move up far enough, right? That becomes less of an issue. But when you're at the, 10 to 15, $20 an hour and your premium changes, that's legit. That's a legit change to your pay at the end of the day. And so, you're right. I mean, that market is so fungible with how they go.
And I do a lot with manufacturers, which obviously is not retail, but same problem, right? Like if I can
100%.
find a cleaner, safer, less in the elements job that pays me the same even, I'm going to take that job, right? If I can get that job. So like
we've seen that
and that's
too.
all, I'm not going to drive 30 minutes to do that. If it's next door, I'm going to do it, right? So it's all about location. It's not necessarily even skill-based at that point. It's more about like just ability to work, and location
100%.
access matters a ton.
Well, and the delta for change, right? The delta for change on there, $1 an hour, couple $1,000, we move up the knowledge worker. There's other things at play. $1 an hour, that's a legit difference in potential lifestyle or putting food on the table.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and I certainly agree. I just make the case. It's I've always thought it's strange with the traditional approach to market data to think that the market only moves once a year. In the retail world and frontline world, let's take the sort of manufacturing side. If you have let's say you manufacture pharmaceuticals and you have a large e-commerce company build and open a fulfillment center within 20 miles.
Never
your talent
happens.
market is now completely defined by that fulfillment center. And it can happen in the course of a quarter. And you can't just age forward data to go solve that problem.
Well,
And not
good turnover is 40%, right?
yeah,
In the box store
That's right.
world, like a winner is at 40%, right? So like
totally.
100% is not out of the norm. So doing it once a year, or on anniversary, like what are the percentage they make it to the anniversary date? So
Yeah.
I think it's
That's
a
right.
legit problem.
I think the other thing with, you mentioned, if the distribution center shows up down the road, it actually could be a blip that never shows up in the survey, as crazy as that sounds. And I've observed this because we've had clients where it literally happens that way because they only hire so many people, right? Like, it's not like they're hiring the whole town. They are hiring a few thousand people. But then that hiring stops, right? So you get like these temporary, and when I say temporary, it's 9 months, but temporary swings that kind of ebb and flow, and the survey cycle will just miss it. Like, it can happen. It's
I think
odd,
that's
but
right.
it can happen.
And even worse, the compensation team misses it. And this is maybe the most important thing for me of all. Our companies are moving faster than our traditional compensation processes. What that means is if you don't have the data and the analysis in time, you're just not part of the conversation. The business will move on without you. And then you end up playing all the whack-a-mole problems down the road. Why do we have pay inequities? Why do we have high attrition? Why are we overspending? It's like, well, you're doing everything retroactively. You're a crash site investigator wondering why the plane crashed instead of looking at the instruments on the panel while it's in the air. I guess
Is
I'm a
that from your
metaphor guy.
co-founder as well?
Yeah. Actually, it is. Yeah.
Just stockpiling analogies.
Sounds like we should have invited Joe to the conversation.
Yeah, 100%. Just a mouthpiece for his metaphors.
Have you seen companies be able to take, now you're at the cutting edge of the data and everything else, have you been able to see them operationalize that and actually make the leap and be able to communicate why to management this is better, et cetera? Or have you seen that lagging versus where you're at?
We've seen kind of both ends of the spectrum. I think the big change the best companies are doing with our data and our agents, how would I put it? Instead of an analyst incorporating data into like a once a year process to update your ranges, you can still do that, of course, and most of our customers do. The big behavior change is the comp partners, the ones who are actually interfacing with the business, are leveraging data in real time on the spot. Because especially in my view, with the offer data that Compa provides, you're speaking the language of the business. If you have a disgruntled executive wondering why you have a retention problem on your team and you start talking about the third percentile of so-and-so survey, their eyes glaze over because they're like, you're not listening to me. If you go in there and say, well, here's what's happened in the past 120 days, the direction of the trend line, supporting metadata, and how we're performing against it, it's a totally different conversation. That's what we see really come to life, is not just examining your historical slow processes like an annual benchmark review, but bringing intelligence out into the actual business, applying it to day-to-day decisions. I think it's a better way to practice comp. When I was in that role, I was always, I was a police person, or I was sort of dancing around like, gosh, I don't know if the survey data I got was any good. I'm going to have to go back and blend something. It's like, what's really going on? It scratches that itch.
So being all in on an AI, right? There's a few different, I think, AI use cases that you're building around, at least that I see from your public. I'd love to just talk a little bit more about the problem that they solve, and not necessarily the product. You could sell that when people reach out to you. I think it's more why is AI right there? Like, why is that the place to lean in? Just because I think a lot of comp people are still looking for, like, where do I really put this to work? And you're putting it to work. So if we could start with the analyst side, right, which I think is my view, but please give me your spin on this. That's like just getting to insight faster. That is like, why is a human trying to find these trends when we can make the robot find these trends? But I guess describe the analyst use case the way that you would describe, like that being an application for AI.
Yeah. So we have an agent we call Analyst, whose responsibility is to surface insights faster and differently than we're used to working. Faster is to say, I can complete a market competitiveness analysis in 10 minutes instead of several hours or weeks, with multiple sources of data, Compa's data included, and others. So there's just sort of a direct compare massive productivity boost. What I think is far more exciting than that, based on my experience in comp, is you can get to those insights much differently. If you think about, if you have a comp person working on analysis, you could ask, why are they doing this? Where did this come from? And 9 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10 times, it originates somewhere in the business. You're fundamentally reactive. Somebody somewhere said, we need to go look at this. And it's kind of already too late. It's your HR business partner, it's an executive, it's a recruiter, or somebody's complaining. The opportunity, I think, that agentic AI represents, expressed for Compa through our analyst agent, is to completely flip the script. The risk detection and market change originates from the technology itself, which is continuously scanning what is happening out in the market. And then the flow is totally reversed too. So then you only look at analysis when it detects that there's a problem. It's not just showing you some data, it's completed the analysis for you and provided some implications you might go look at, like what would be cost to go remediate, and positions you to go summarize that, which you can use the agent for as well, and have a thoughtful, proactive, strategic conversation with the business. That is what gets me most excited about analysts. Yes, for sure, you can get to insights faster, but I think their big change is that they come from the comp team using its technology instead of the business, wondering why comp is so far behind.
Yeah. I remember trying to build, it was an AI, and I wouldn't have even described it as AI. It was really just like reports. But I know, like, looking at changes, right? Hey, we've all used big survey companies that everybody knows for tech, right? And every quarter, I would do the what's changed view proactively. 90% of it was false negatives, though, I guess, in my, like, there's just noise, right? Like, so I guess talk about how AI is a way to get beyond that, right? Because if it's just a signal for noise, it's not helpful, right? Then it's just an amplifier for bad data. So I guess talk a little about the data quality problem that shows up in comp benchmarking, and how does AI make that better?
Yeah, I think so. Your signal to noise risk becomes really high if you're just trying to sort of use a traditional survey that partially updates once a quarter to say what's changed. And that's the problem, is that your employee data doesn't move nearly as fast as other measures of the market. We started at Compa with offer data because it's a measure of market change, and it is changing every single day. That doesn't mean you have to play whack-a-mole and run your business completely differently. Long-term investment strategy and look at what's happening on NASDAQ. In the same way, you can have a long-term total reward strategy and see, okay, well, what is the market actually trading at today? That's what offers are. So I think offers are a terrific way to think about market change. It changes constantly. And sometimes it's noise, sometimes it persists as longer term trends. And there's supporting kind of predictive signals to help you digest the data, like not just how his price moves, but volumes of offers and accept rates. There are other types of data that move super fast as well. And then my favorite one that I would point to, my favorite because I just love exec comp, it's where I spent most of my career, is in stock comp data. We brought to market this measure of unvested equity for the market, which is to say, I'm not going to benchmark your standard refresh grant. I'm just going to say, hey, kind of the W-2 view, like how much you got vesting this year, how much is unvested. That changes as frequently as the share price of your company changes. And now you can start to think about analyses like, we missed our earnings this quarter and our competitors didn't. So suddenly we had a 25% drop in our stock price. Our peer group's average stock price rose 15%. What do you think happened to your retention risk that week? It massively changed. And so we're not just sort of aging forward surveys and trying to look at the difference in a 50th percentile quarter over quarter. It's looking at true real-time signal that has implications for managing risk, managing competitiveness, managing costs.
Yeah, it's a good point. And it's different data, right? Like I was just comparing a snapshot to a snapshot.
Yeah.
Because that's what humans could do somewhat easily in 2017, right? But I think with more processing power and the speed of automation, you can look at the whole thing and develop different statistics essentially at that point. Like you're generating things that just weren't even possible.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about speed. Found when we first were prototyping with the analyst agent, we were finding that when you put in a prompt and ask the agent to do an analysis, it kind of takes a while to get it done. And you'll be thinking maybe for like 90 seconds. And even myself as a former comp person, I'm looking at this like I could probably write a VLOOKUP faster. And so that's not a good experience. You're also constraining the analytical capacity of the agent by trying to hit a very short performance window. So ironically, we sort of flipped it on its head and said, well, what if it just did this analysis all the time in the background, like over the weekend? And what if instead of constraining it to think for 90 seconds, we let it think for 15 minutes? How much better could it be? And so now the speed is you can log in and say, oh, something's changed. That's interesting, and already has the analysis done for me. AI changes not just how you use products, but how you think about building them too. And it goes all the way down to like, well, what is the actual work that the human's doing? Maybe it's not just entering prompts into a chat, but reading outputs from always on analysis.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So I can see TA for sure loving this, right? Like we've talked about, the defensibility of the data and of course, potentially, comp you're behind things. So I can also see this as being really interesting if comp doesn't doesn't drink the Kool-Aid at the same time. Have you seen, and I kind of phrased it earlier, but you said some are or some aren't, with these companies being able to make the adjustment because what you're offering is like all this data that happens all the time and things are going. Are they moving to quarterly updates, quarterly comp change, permanent thing? Or are they still like, that's all great. TA has it, but we got 11 months until the next cycle. How are you seeing them actually put that data into play? Because I feel like I prognosticate you're a little bit ahead, which is, better than being behind, Charlie. But like, how have you seen companies successfully make that migration?
Yeah, I mean, I have a confession. When I was in comp, I would never give my talent acquisition team access to market data, and I maybe still wouldn't do it now. Some of our customers do. It's really interesting. Here's the problem with that. We, in comp, a lot of times we sort of derive our value as the keepers of this really sensitive data, and for good reason. It is sensitive. They're gonna find data on their own. They're going to go Google it. And we had one of our customers, a very big, well-known tech company, began leveraging Compa because they found out that their recruiters had built their own market database based on what they're hearing from candidate expectations. And it's like, Comp was like, okay, that's actually pretty interesting. A, I want access to that. B, it is wildly wrong for all kinds of reasons. And we have to have, but what was happening is a real underlying demand for more frequent data and access to data was there. So here's how we think about sort of not just speeding up compensation analysis and changing how it happens. We built our second agent, what we call partner, to apply intelligence out to actual decisions. So compensation teams are setting strategy and policy, but it's the managers, it's the recruiters, to some degree, the HR VP supporting, it's the executives that are actually out making offers, doing promotions, making pay increases every day, every year. And so our partner agent is designed to provide expert compensation perspective at the point of decision for those users, but controlled and configured by the compensation team. So what our customers do is they actually sort of upload and configure their comp strategies into this partner agent. So it thinks and talks like your comp team and knows your guardrails. So that when, say, a recruiter wants to put together an offer, instead of just picking from a range with a 50% spread or shooting an email and trying to get somebody's attention at 5 p.m. on a Friday, you can go have a conversation with an agent that will help them develop a strategy that's aligned to the company's goals, whatever that is, to reduce costs, to increase competitiveness, to make more use of at-risk pay, to reflect a change in its peer group. It doesn't matter. It's always changing. So I kind of think about the sort of a pyramid of maturity of starting with real-time data, then using AI tools in your own compensation team, whether it's the intelligence tools that Comp provides or managing things like communication, support, or administrative tasks with other AI tools, and then ultimately putting those insights out into the wild, controlled by Comp, by applying your strategy out to the point of real decision, the things your CFO cares about.
Yeah. On partner, so this is one we never actually had the debate. Now I think about, I think I sent you an email. You had a blog series about sort of thinking about it, comp decisions as investment decisions and how like your expense ratio and comparisons. Everybody go look at Charlie's blog, the peer group on Substack, right? There's one about like the cost of comp, the economics of comp, and I had a quibble with it. And my last quibble, which we never had the debate, but maybe we'll have it now since we still have 3 minutes before I kick you off,
Let's do it.
is like, it's clear to me how AI can make faster decisions. It is not clear to me how AI is making better decisions. And my argument there is a lot of times the human that you're making a decision about is not quantifiable. I won't try to do Sean's normal quip here, but it's basically something to the line of like humans are incredibly predictable, but at the same time, like impossible to predict. Like every human's a little bit different. And that's what makes a good comp decision sometimes, is knowing the nuance and the context. And maybe I'm just a Gen Xer who doesn't want to give up on being part of the decision. But I guess how do you, I guess, prove me wrong? Like, how is it that AI is going to make a better choice? Not just, I know how it's faster than I can be, but how is it going to be better? How is an AI informed decision a better decision?
It's a great question. And I will answer it by fundamentally rejecting the proposition that you've laid out, which is I don't think that AI should be making compensation decisions. I think the human should. And boundary strategy is really important here, not just for ethical reasons, which we could spend a whole hour on, but for the exact reason you're laying out. It's the old euphemism, part art, part science. The art part's not going anywhere. My view, if I really distill this down, is the AI makes the science way smarter. It automates it for you. And that positions the human to practice better art. So I view boundary strategy as critical here. I read a book called Prediction Machines when I was at Workday. The CEO suggested everyone read it. It gave an example of a company that used AI to detect cancer in MRI images. And it had a lot of problems with it because it was trying to tell you whether there was cancer or not, and basically overtake the diagnosis responsibility of the doctor. They figured out, they pulled back the boundary of the technology. It actually did less to say, here's the percent chances that there's cancer in this image. Instead of delivering it to the patient, they deliver it to the doctor. So what happened? The doctor had much better information available to render a human judgment on a diagnosis. And it put AI, I think, where it belongs, which is supporting decision-making. I'd make the exact same case for comp, fortunately not life or death, to say the individual circumstances, as much as we try to quantify them, we're never going to get all the pieces that we need. But what the AI can do is far better equip us to eliminate the types of discretion that are unfair or misaligned to our strategy or unaffordable, and provide just-in-time context to make a better human decision. That's my case that I make to you. How's that?
I mean, in addition to a theater nerd, you were probably a debate nerd too. Like you did a great job of reframing that. I mean, you answered it. I'm not saying you dodged the question. Don't take it the wrong way. But I think rejecting the premise is sort of the first thing they teach you when you're on the negative in debate class.
But I totally dig that, because the way I usually phrase it, Charlie, is humans are highly statistically predictable, but individually amazingly unique.
Yeah, that was it.
So,
That's
like,
much
I
better.
think, you're, I will probably plagiarize into that somewhere, the boundary strategy of, how far do you let them be unique is actually a really interesting piece there. And then I really, the predictive piece I think is cool too in the boundary strategy, right? So saying, instead of being reactive to the human individuality, you're like predictively going out and saying, you know, well, in this case, it's true. Paul's very unique in his situation. But in this case, and then analyze and say, yeah, he actually is a snowflake. And so we have to treat it that way. Or he's getting out of bounds and it's something we need to look at. But I really like the boundary strategy piece.
Yeah.
It allows you to tie it all together and then,
Yeah.
allowing them to spend more time on the art of what they're doing individually, but also in the pay philosophy, tying it to the business.
But make no mistake, especially with where we are in the AI hype cycle, there will be companies, there will be compensation teams that pursue fully automating this and having the AI decide whether you get a bonus this year. I believe they're making a mistake. It's just not the game we're playing. And for us at Compa, it's a function of our market. Our customers are large enterprises. They value trust. They value a level of conservatism and depth of quality that just defines the guardrails we play in. So shout out to whatever cowboys out there try to fully automate this with AI. I think it'll blow back. Yeah. Unfortunately, people will figure out and get frustrated, and we'll bring humans back in the loop.
I think the other part of the better decision, now I'm going to argue the other side. You could tell I was a debate nerd in high school, but I think there's too many decisions where there's no one involved today, right? There's a lot of uneducated choices. So it is a better choice, even if you educate it in a very basic way, right? Providing
I think
even
that's right.
Simple. So that's where I do agree with your argument about coverage being the key issue, right? When I was in-house, I handled myself probably 30 offers a month because they were, leadership offers. I couldn't have done much more than that. And if there's 100 to make, that means there's 70 that are being unattended in some form.
That's right.
And that's just one human, right? So I think
increasing
technology
coverage.
makes
Yes.
Increasing coverage in itself will result in some better decisions, right? So I think that's where the quality comes in. It's not just speed. For the 30 I could touch, it's going to be a faster version of me, which is great. For the 70 I couldn't, now it's basically trying to replicate my snowflake position to
Couldn't have said it
to
better.
touch it. So I do think that is a place where I knew the answer I figured you might go to, but you didn't go there on coverage.
100%.
Well, we're getting close to the end of our time. We always close with one sort of similar question. We're going to give you the magic wand to fix automagically, Sean's very scientific term, anything in HR. It doesn't have to just be comp, but any HR thing that you could automagically fix, what would it be?
Ooh, fix anything in HR.
And you have to keep the humans. Like, you can't get rid of people. Like, that's like, you can't automate them all. That's not the answer. The magic wand does not make
We
people
gave you
disappear.
a magic wand and said you can answer anything you want, and then Paul's
but
like,
this
"Fuck."
not.
Yeah.
Oh, if I, it sounds so old school and simple, but I think it's going to be a forever problem throughout all of our careers. If I could just make excellent hiring go faster, that's what I want. I just want to do great hiring faster. That is my number one thing. And that's maybe a symptom of where we are as a company. We are growing as fast as we can hire people. So it's a little bit top of mind for me, but I can't believe what a pain it is to hire people. And it's 2026.
There you go. That's a good one. The magic wand can do that. I just wanted to make sure you didn't lean in so far to AI that, like, all of a sudden the rest of us aren't here. So we appreciate
No, definitely not. I think that, and at least in the world of compensation, we are small, mighty teams. If you're a CFO looking to reduce costs, there's not very many compensation people. There are other parts of the business that are, I think, more at risk. I see AI as expanding the analytical capacity and impact of comp teams more than shrinking them.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we used up our full month's budget of AI references in one episode.
Seriously, drink.
Yeah.
We have to purge. Although, to be fair, we've been on sort of a pay transparency kick, Sean, the last few. So this is like, let's get back in the hype cycle a bit before we jump back out and probably talk more pay transparency.
And I really appreciate you coming on, Charlie. It's watching you over the past, having been around. It's always super cool. This is the hippie in me. It is always super cool to see good shit happen to great people, and just love the journey. And so I appreciate you coming on. And it's, I'm super stoked to see what you guys do next.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate both of you. Paul, I love everything you put out in the market.
Thanks.
And Sean, it's been really fun to be connected over the years. I'm doing my life's work. We're having fun and we're hiring. So hit me up if you want to come build the future with us. There's my plug.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Sean.